Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a last-minute upgrade on the DBX 10 before I take it out and test the changes that I made in parts 6 and 7. One of the things I noticed is that this aftermarket servo that I put in here, it's a no-name brand servo. It's supposed to be waterproof. Really didn't perform that well. The main thing I noticed is it didn't seem to have a lot of holding power. The steering, it would just, turn on its own if you bumped into it, even though the servo was powered up and should be resisting that change. So I decided to upgrade. Now, I didn't want to spend upwards of $130 to $150 on a good heavy-duty servo for this, because you need something with a lot of strength and torque because of these big wheels and tires. It's a 110, but it's a large 110, and it's a heavy 110 scale. So I went with this. It's another, I wouldn't say it's a no-name brand, but it's not a major name brand servo. It's made in China, but most stuff is. I mean, come on, realistically. But it's about $59, and it's got some pretty good numbers on it. The speed isn't that high, but at decent voltage, it will it goes full swing in 1/10 of a second, which is great. I mean, for what this car is and what it's doing, it doesn't have to be super fast. It's more important that it be strong and have a lot of torque. This has 46 kilograms of torque. It's an all aluminum CNC case. It's got steel gearing throughout, ball bearings, and I believe it's supposed to be reasonably waterproof. I don't take my trucks through a lot of puddles and stuff like that, so I'm really not worried about the waterproof side of things. As long as it functions well, that's what's important. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick swap here on this. And another thing I thought I would try, because I had it coming in for another project anyway, I've never used a gyro before, and I thought that I'd give it a try. One of the places I'm thinking about using this is for drag car, cranking the gain up real high to help keep the car straight, not have it wander. See if that helps, because the only time I've ever had a crash with my drag car was if I started to get offline and then would like crossed into the other lane or tagged the timing marker at the end or something like that, or if it really broke out sideways, like if one tire lost traction and it suddenly spun out at speed. So I'm hoping that this can help with some of that. I thought I'd give it a try, and because they're not very expensive. These are like $10, $15. It's another thing that I grabbed off Amazon. Here's the info on the back for you to check out. Hopefully that is visible. There we go. That glare was a little much. There's the front of the tag. And so one of the nice things about this one, there's the two types of gyros I've seen have either it's just a pass-through in between the servo and the receiver, or it's a pass-through with an extra channel input, and that is for the gain, and that allows you to adjust. Now, this is a 5-channel receiver for my FS-GT5 FlySky radio, and I'm going to attach the gain to one of these twist knobs up here, so I will have the ability to make granular changes to the gyro. And this, it doesn't necessarily need a gyro, but like if it's loose stuff, it does get squirrely very easy, and it can be hard to keep it a straight line. It tries to wander a little, and I thought that'd be a good place to test this and see what it does, how well it works, that kind of thing. Like I said, this is my first time ever using one. The main thing that kept me away from introducing myself to gyros is that they're not legal for racing, and you know, being someone who is kind of focused in that direction, I didn't want to become reliant on something that I couldn't use in competition, because then I was worried that it would, you know, that if I become dependent on it, then I'm not gonna drive as well without one, and you know, that may not be the case. That was just what I had in my head, and that's what kept me from trying it in the past. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what it does for this buggy. Then it'll go into the drag car, and I may get a couple of these for some other vehicles, particularly vehicles like this that are just fun vehicles. You know, they're just bashers. So I hate using that term too, because you know, I don't know. There are a lot of people who literally bash their RC cars. They just go out and beat them to death. And I don't like doing that personally, but hey, you know, whatever you're into, if you can afford to, you know, see how many flips you can make your car do, and if it busts, it's no big deal, you know, hey, go ahead. You know, more power to you. So, just not my thing. I do like jumping them. I like having a lot of fun, and they do go, you know, top over tea kettle sometimes. That's just the nature of it. But I don't like just flinging them, you know, seeing if I can jump the house with it or something. Anytime I work on this, you know, with any substantial amount of work to be done, I generally take the body off. It just seems to be easier. One of the nice things about this car, they almost seem to expect you to make changes. The inner hole for the servo mount is slotted instead of just being a round hole, so that if your servo is a little wider or a little narrower than what comes on the car, you've got some room for adjustment without having to drill holes in your chassis. So we're looking the same size. Might be well, it's almost exactly the same size. Okay, as usual, it's always good to test and center the servo. That's what this little sucker's for. It's nice and smooth. It's very quiet. Doesn't have any buzz. Okay, it's centered. Put a drop of Loctite on here. Seems like a different thread. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Okay, there's our LED. There's our manual adjustment for the gain. And then we have the digital or analog. And then reverse or normal. So there's two micro switches in there, and the first thing we need to do is make sure that the one on the right is down. Wow, it's really hard to see down there. Okay, I think those are going to be best done with the tip of a knife, because they are just such small switches. It is set up for analog by default. Oh, and just FYI, these are outstandingly helpful. I think I got this at not Target, Walmart. Found it in like the arts and crafts aisle. It was only like $8 or $10 maybe, but it comes in super handy. Okay, so I'm going to leave the reverse normal switch until I figure out which direction is which. So I'm going to, let's see. Okay, this is our servo in. This is our servo out. And they don't really have it marked, but the side with the where you can see the connectors, that usually faces in that direction. In other words, the ground is usually over here when you're looking at those, signal over here, and we can kind of confirm that they're doing it that way because this is a signal only wire here. That's why there's no it's only one wire. They've already got power coming into this through this plug, so they didn't need the extra power and ground, so they just have a signal wire here, and as you can see, that's that. So that's our correct orientation. Make sure that's in. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up for channel 4, or no, 5. That's odd. That's 5. Channel 6 is also bind. So that's 5. That's going to be this knob right here, channel 5. So there's our ground. I'm going to do these wires a little better in a minute. I just want to test stuff. And the easiest way to do that is going to just be to power the receiver directly with this battery. Go ahead and get the radio turned on ahead of time. And yep, it's on the right model. Okay, I'm not getting anything, so was turning to ESC. Let's just go for a battery real quick. I may not have this plugged in far enough. That could be the problem. And I really should prop this up on something in case the motor spools up on me for some reason. Don't want this taking off across the tabletop. Okay, that's the direction I wanted in. So that's the gyro twitching. I move the gyro. Okay, everything's plugged in right. It's doing what we want it to do. So now, time to get the wiring set up. So, being a gyro, I think it should be mounted as close to the center of the car as possible. Let me just look at the directions for a moment, see if they mention anything about that. Okay, there's a little bit getting lost in the translation here, but this is something that I was suspecting and was going to try doing it this way. We have that adjuster for the gain, this little pot right here that we have the screwdriver for. I was going to set that to 100% since I was going to be using the adjustment on the transmitter. And they say, while adjust via gain channel, gyro potentiometer change to servo angle adjustment clock wire for maximum. In other words, I think what they're saying is exactly what I was thinking, which is that since I'm going to be adjusting the gain from the transmitter, I want the mechanical setting, the physical setting, to be set to 100, and then any adjustment to gain up or down will be done at the transmitter. So that's good. They don't mention anything about where to mount, but since this is going to be impacted by the turning of the vehicle, rotation, I think the best thing to do would be to mount it in the center, as close to center as possible. So let's see, do we have a direction? What's front and what's rear? I can only assume that the lettering is giving us that. So let me adjust the potentiometer before I go further. And we have a negative and a positive, so 100% is going to be dead center. So straight up and down is what I want. Okay. Do you find these videos to be helpful, useful to you? Then please help me keep this channel going by donating. Click the link up here and you can donate safely through PayPal on either a one-time or a monthly basis, your choice. I would put it below this wire output here, but that would cover up the holes, and I don't want to do that. So turn off transmitter. And it is a nice little aluminum case, by the way, in case you weren't able to see that by the anodized edge here. So that looks good. And a pair of cutters. So, servo leads. Let's see what's going to be the best way to do this. Now, since this is a test, I'm not worried about making this wiring perfect. Just want it not to be a problem. So that's good enough for testing. If everything works, I'll zip tie that a little more permanently. This one I really needed to make sure it was mounted securely so that it doesn't get away. So let me just give you some numbers on that servo in case you're interested in it. Let's see. It's okay. It's brushless motor. The internal motor is brushless. Operating speed at 6 volts is 0.12 seconds. At 7.4 volts, it's 0.1 seconds for 60 degrees. It's got a total swing of 120 degrees. Stall torque is 38.6. At 6 volts, at 7.4 volts, it's 47.8 kilograms per centimeter. Then they give dimensions. The weight is 71 grams. So good heavy-duty servo. If it performs well, I may use it in some other vehicles down the road. It's reasonably priced at $59 for a metal case servo with metal gears and ball bearings. You really can't beat it. So let's see, is there anything else I need to take care of? Switches are adjusted, pots adjusted, set up for the radio, servos mounted, that's tight. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I should go into my radio and check my endpoint adjustments and whatnot, because I don't know what I had set up for the original servo. So I'll make sure that's squared away, and then I'll trim it when I get it out for first runs tomorrow. Now, in the last video, part 7, I told you guys that these low-C springs, I put a set on the rear. They fit this truck. This truck has kind of an odd size at 17.5 millimeter diameter. The most 110 springs are 16 or 16.5. These springs that I have here and in my hand are for the TLR 4-wheel drive short course truck, the 10-SCTE. That truck has been around now probably for 5 or 6 years untouched. They haven't changed anything on it. I guess they've developed it as far as they can, or as far as they want to spend money on. It's supposed to be a very good car if you race that class. I actually have heard that it's better than the Techno that I built. I like my Techno, but at some point I might get a low-C. I just keep waiting. Every year I'm like, well, maybe next year they'll bring out a 4.0. But they've had that 3.0 now for so long, it's unbelievable, and they haven't touched it. In any event, their springs fit, and in part 7, in the description, you'll find links to their spring kits. The spring kits, you get 4 pairs for either the front or the rear. They're $22.99 at A-Main Hobbies, so $46 gets you 4 complete sets of front and rear springs. And I'm gonna swap the fronts. I'm not gonna bother doing it on camera for you. You've seen me rebuild the shocks completely, so you know the process. I want to ditch these cheap blue springs, and I'm probably going to go with the lightest springs to start with up front. The front springs start at 3.6 pounds and go up to 4.5. The green being the softest, the purple being the hardest. So I'm going to go ahead and make room for those in one of my spring boxes. But for now, I'm just going to open up the greens and install them. This is how I like to keep my springs organized. I've found that these little fishing boxes. These tackle boxes are great. They're the perfect size for springs. I can fit, 9 pairs of springs in each box. I'll usually label the side of them with the car that they fit. If it's a general like 10th scale, I'll put that. I also put a little tag in the bottom of each compartment with the name of the car, the weight of the spring, the color of the spring, so I know how to identify them, whether it's front or rear, that kind of thing. And I just throw when I'm going to the track for the weekend, I just grab whatever spring boxes I need and throw them into my big traveling box, and off I go. It makes it really easy. And if you keep them organized like that, it's a lot easier to figure out what's going to work on another car, because I've got a lot of 10th scale buggies and trucks, on-road, off-road, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, and being able to just mix and match, because you'll even see a lot of pros will do this. They'll be racing an associated car, but they've got Losi springs on it, like in the Losi yellow rear springs were just the choice for a really long time back in the day. Anyway, I'm rambling on here, but yeah. So thanks for watching. The next video, I'm gonna be going back to that same spot where I ran this and broke that front axle, and I'm going to be testing these nice aluminum parts. They look great, so we'll see how that does.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell icon, you'll receive notifications every time I launch a new video. Thank you for watching.